Hello, this is Mr. Rasmussen with Algebra 1, Lesson 96, and we introduced the idea of a difference of two-square theorem, which you can see at the bottom there on page 402. And we have a situation here. If we take x squared equals 4, well, if we put a 2 in there, right? 2 times 2 is equal to 4, so that works. However, if we put a negative 2 in there, negative 2 times negative 2 also equals a positive 4. So we actually see that in this situation, there's two answers, which makes sense because the square there tells us that there's two answers. Now, heads up, if we have square root of 4, that one is equal to 2. It's not plus or minus 2 because it's not connected to this x squared where we're solving something. If we wanted this to equal negative 2, we'd have to put a negative out in front, such as that. Okay, so that leads me to the difference of two-square theorem. It said that if p and q are real numbers, and if p squared is equal to q squared, then p is equal to q, or p is equal to negative q. One of them can be a negative. Okay, so as we apply this here, let's look at the first example. In this situation, okay, we've got p squared equals 16. Basically, we're going to square root both sides, but because of this, one can be positive and one can be negative, so we get plus or minus the square root of 16. The square root of 16 is 4, so the answer is plus or minus 4. Both of them would work. They're the two answers. 4 times 4 is equal to 16, and negative 4 times negative 4 is equal to 16. Let's go about this just a little different direction. Let's say that that we move the 16 over. Let's take p squared. If we subtract 16 from both sides, we get p squared minus 16 is equal to 0. Now, then we could if we think about it, we could factor that. We get p minus 4 and p plus 4 equals 0. And if we were to solve them, p minus 4 equals 0, add 4 to both sides, we get p equals 4. And then vice versa, p plus 4 equals 0, subtract 4 from both sides, we get p equals minus 4. And that's another way to think about that as far as solving it and getting your two answers. Okay, let's look at the second example here. P squared, we're going to square root both sides. To remove that, we get p is equal to plus or minus square root of 41, and that one doesn't simplify any further. And the last one here, square root both sides, we get k is equal to plus or minus the square root of 13. And once again, if you were to solve that, well, let's do that. Square root of 13 is equal to 3.6. So our answers are 3.6 and negative 3.6. Two answers. They would obviously be two different places on a number line. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. Let's work through our practice problems here. Practice problem A, we'd square through both sides. P is equal to plus or minus the square root of 169, and that happens to be 13. So P is equal to plus or minus 13. This one here, square root both sides, Q would be equal to plus or minus the square root of 23. That doesn't go any further as a whole number. All right, and then the last one here, W is going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of 14. And those would be your two answers, the one positive and the one negative. And it's as simple as that. All right, hopefully that goes well for you. Please feel free to text me if you've got a question, and have a great day.